All right. So just to summarize what we've said tonight, or what you guys have said, and I've listened to and learned from you guys a little bit, is really the biggest issue in youth ministry. The way it's done today is really what you guys call the lack of discipleship. And so from my perspective, or from the outsider perspective, the non-focused youth ministry perspective, I see is this kind of this events mentality versus a true relational discipleship approach to uh, treating, caring for the whole person of the youth, teaching them about Jesus, and then modeling what that is through this this process of life that you guys that we go through. Being a Christian disciple, what does that really looks like? So if I were to if I were to summarize it, that's what I would say. I would say it is discipleship, but it kind of comes off, to me at least, in just that little bit of difference in the way it's perceived by the outside world, non-youth minister world. So I'm done, Ray.
Okay, so from my perspective, in youth ministry, the greatest weakness facing our students in America today is definitely discipleship. Discipleship in a way that parents and students need to buy into to their Christian faith, to knowledge of the Scripture, to why they believe what they believe, and to be able to go from that high school fun, relaxed atmosphere into this real big, scary world that we go into, and to change um, that statistic of 50% walking away from the church. And then even that greater statistic of only 10 being sold out for 10% being sold out for and being an active member in the church. And so I think the apathy, the disconnect, the easiness of walking away from church, that's the biggest problem. And I don't have an answer. I wish I had an answer, and I would love to hear an answer to that problem, because I'd love to start tomorrow fixing it. But that to me is the biggest problem facing teens in America, and I definitely see that play out in my own church, in the ministry that I'm a part of every week. And so anyway, that's my summarization of that.
Yeah, so I'm right there with Matthew and Ray as well. But it's discipleship. We look at America today, and the black thing that our biggest teenagers lack today is discipleship. But at the same time, it's discipleship with the parents as well. Because we know amongst all of our conversations today, we've had great discussions about it. And it's even come up to the fact, that we only get the kids for an hour and 30 minutes or however long. Someone said 30 hours to 50 hours a week is all we get. And that's 365 days a year. So you do the math, their parents are with them way more. So it's not only just discipleshiping the students, but it's also discipling the parents to become better parents, taking their sons or daughters deeper into the word. But at the same time, the church challenging them and church holding programs to disciple the parents, as well as discipling the students as well, to where it's come. The church that I'm in now and that I serve in now, and that as a next generation pastor is, that's what we struggle with. We don't have the parents who are invested. They just drop their kids off and go home, or they drop their kids off and go to their Bible study. They're not coming up and seeing what God's doing and being invested. So it's also discipleship and the investment of the parents, I think, is the weakest part of this student ministry today in America.
I agree with everything that y'all have said so far. Discipleship is definitely probably the biggest issue overall. Just with how we're discipling our kids to get them invested. So whenever they leave our youth groups, what are they going to do with their lives? Are they going to continue following the Lord, or are they going to fall away because they weren't really growing in the word and growing in truth and the relationship with God? The same thing is true with the parents, like y'all have been saying. How are we discipling our parents? Because the parents, they have a lot more time with their kids than we do. Y'all said earlier that we get about 30 hours a year with these students. Well, that's not hardly any time at all. And so how are we equipping our parents? And I think that's something every church really needs to look at, is how do we invest in them and equip them to speak life and truth into their students? And another thing that I wanted to bring up that I brought up earlier in the group is another issue that kind of falls under discipleship is just kind of the separation there is between student ministry and the congregation as a whole. Are we plugging students in to attend worship so they can be a part of the entire congregation? And are we getting them plugged in with other people and other members, adults, or whatever, to be discipled by them? Because again, once they leave our student ministries, what are they doing? A lot of students these days, and that's why numbers are dropping so drastically, is because they leave student ministry and they go out to another church and they don't know how to get plugged into anywhere. But yeah.
Yeah, we're in total agreement tonight. I mean, we all see the issue of discipleship among our students. We see the issue of them dropping off after high school. You know, in the church that I volunteer and serve at, we see the issue of them dropping off before high school's even over. I mean, we have a youth group that runs well over 150 kids, and we have 2 seniors total across 2 campuses. I mean, they're dropping off before they even finish high school. And the question you have to ask yourself is where are we failing them, or where are we holding ourselves accountable for the fact that those kids are there in 8th grade and 9th grade and 10th grade, and by the time they get to seniors, they don't see the point and the value in it. They don't see the worth of Jesus. And as youth pastors and as youth leaders and volunteers, we have to find a way to partner with parents, partner with church leadership, and build that value and show that worth of Jesus, and so that it's a heart change and not just an emotional response. I think that every one of us has a deep desire to see discipleship change, and we feel that would serve the goal of building more people up to Christ, building more high school students up to Christ, and we would solve some of these issues that we're having in our youth groups today in America.